Hello there, RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. RailGods of Hysterra is a brand new survival base building action adventure with an interesting Lovecraftian horror twist. I got the chance to play this game a little bit earlier than the official release, and in this video we're going to talk about all major features and what you can expect to experience if you pick this game up. I'm going to focus on explaining the systems of the game and give you some tips that I wish I knew before I started playing the game. RailGods of Hysterra is coming out in early access on Steam on May 7th. RailGods has an online co-op mode as well, where you can experience the game with up to 4 players. I mostly play this game in single player mode because that's usually how I prefer to play my games. And because I have no friends. Actually, that's a lie, I have a few, but I can never convince anyone to play with me. Anyway, this is a sponsored video by Vortex, so huge thanks to them for reaching out to the channel and sponsoring the video. You will find the Steam link for the game in the video description or in the pinned comment down below, so be sure to check it out. Now let's talk about all major features of RailGods of Hysterra. The world and setting in RailGods is heavily inspired by the work of H.P. Lovecraft. The world has been devastated by the arrival of the Great Old Ones, cosmic beings of the unimaginable power. Reality has been twisted by madness, and what remains of humanity clings to survival in shattered outposts. You play as a dreamer who is awoken from the dreamlands. There is a character creation menu, where you can customize your character with different hairstyles, head, body, beard, and a couple of other features. A couple of months before the arrival of these cosmic beings, H.P. Lovecraft himself gathered from across the globe a team of expert dreamers. Each dreamer used a special elixir to put himself in a mystical sleep and enter the dreamlands. The dreamers consulted various sorcerers and scientists in the dreamland and came up with a plan to stop the madness. You will find characters to talk with as you progress through the game who will tell you more about what's going on in the world. Your character is bound to a machine known as the RailGods. The RailGod is much more than a train though. It's basically your hub area where you're going to spend a lot of time building your base, researching and creating new items, getting new powers and feeding the train. Yeah, you heard that right, you get to feed the train in this game, otherwise you won't be able to travel, and he gets a bit cranky when he's hungry. But more about that in a minute. Let's talk about the basic gameplay features first. Even though this is an isometric game, you get to control your character with WASD, which makes me very happy. If you ask me, it feels so much better to play these games with WASD instead of using the point and click, and I know a lot of people will agree with me on this. The full game is supposed to have the controller support as well, but for now, the game can be only played with mouse and keyboard. You use your mouse to attack, gather resources, aim ranged weapons and abilities, and so on. You also get a dodge button that works off cooldown. The camera can be rotated with the middle mouse button, which is another thing I really like. A lot of isometric games nowadays for some reason don't even allow you to rotate the camera, which kinda sucks. I like to constantly rotate the camera while I'm exploring, because it turns the character as well. But if you ever get confused, you can just click on the minimap to reset the camera and the minimap itself. Since RailGods is a survival game in its core, you have to worry about a couple of different survival mechanics. Health, hunger and sanity are the main survival systems in this game. Every now and then you'll have to eat something, but it's pretty easy to find food while exploring. It also won't take long until you build something in your base that will easily produce the food for you. Sanity stat is a little bit different. The longer you stay in one location, the more sanity you lose. You will start seeing crazy things on the map, and you won't be able to identify or use some of the items from the inventory. There are various items you can find to keep this bar in check, but this mechanic goes a bit deeper. You can deposit all the madness you gather from your travels by interacting with the rail god on the train. When you deposit enough madness points, you start unlocking more powers for your character, known as the God Keeper skills. And you really want to pick up these utility spells as soon as possible. For example, the teleport is extremely useful and it will save your life in a lot of situations. Exploration can be very dangerous in this game and you can easily die if you're not careful. Upon that, you will drop all of your items on the floor. But you can pick them up with a press of a button once you return on the same spot on the map. The aggro on enemies is pretty generous, so as long as you're not very close to them you can avoid them easily, which makes getting back to the place you died a bit easier. Since I mentioned the God Keeper spells, you actually start the game with a couple of very powerful spells. These spells are called Dark Gifts and they have a separate category in the UI. You get a projectile spell that has a great range, and a strong wave spell with great AoE damage. These spells only work off cooldowns and you want to use them as much as possible in a fight, especially in the beginning of the game. When you start getting new weapons and armor, the fights become way easier. As for the melee weapons, I like using the spear because it has a great combo of 3 fast attacks and a good range. At first, you really want to kite all enemies as much as possible with the projectile spell or other ranged weapons. Some enemy NPCs are walking around constantly, so you need to watch out not to aggro everything at once. The majority of strong enemy attacks are well telegraphed and you can see them on the ground. Your dodge is an essential mechanic for avoiding these attacks and it's not so hard to avoid them. However, you really want to watch out for the cooldown on the dodge ability. Forgetting that I have a cooldown on dodge is something that got me hit a lot in these fights. I tend to forget and this was the reason why I got killed so many times. I recommend using the bow a lot in the beginning. Staying far away from the enemy is a great tactic in general. Combining the bow and the ranged spell you get in the beginning is more than enough for taking down most enemies. And if anyone gets too close, your AoE spell will do some massive damage, so you can finish them off with some basic attacks. Some of these enemies have a lot of health and hit very hard, like these Shamblers for example. They are very slow and it's easy to kite them around, but if they catch you they can do some massive damage. Each boss fight in the game represents a fragment of the Great Old One's cosmic will, and they have some cool cutscenes before the encounter. It doesn't take long for you to find the materials for crafting bows and arrows. The way you discover these blueprints is pretty simple actually. You'll find these items with a loop icon on them, which means that you can take them back to the train and use the blueprint desk. This will allow you to craft all the blueprints that are related to the item that you just found. Once you have all the blueprints, now you need different materials that you can scavenge while exploring in order to make various items. You can make some tools to help you with this process, and there is a nice little progression system for this. If you played any survival games before, all of this should be very familiar to you. But what's pretty unique about RailGods is how you get to the zones and how you progress further in the game. Which brings us back to the train itself. These little icons up here control the speed of the train. Only the conductor, which is basically the host of the game, can control the train. As the train moves, you will see different locations where you can stop. Then you can just leave the train and explore that specific location. That's pretty much the whole gist of the exploration in this game. You'll find dungeons and different biomes, as well as some towns with friendly NPCs. There is a quest line that you have to follow, and that usually involves a couple of different quests. These quests usually require you to interact with various mechanics of the game while exploring different areas, killing bosses, and finding unique items. But your train won't move unless it's fed, like I said before. This can be done by collecting earthling mush and feeding it to the train. It's basically just meat that you can collect from enemies that you kill while exploring these maps. Then you have to drop the mush here and activate the feeding machine. It's pretty cool. However, this item is also used for crafting, so you probably want to put some on the side in your chest. If this number reaches 0, your train just won't be able to move until you start feeding it again. If it happens that you're out of these items and your train just stops, you can usually just leave the train and kill some enemies to gather the mush. But as you build your base, you can also capture enemies in cages, which can help you with producing these items and make sure you never run out of mush. The base building feature allows you to build various items, which are pretty much necessary for progression. The train is basically like your living and breathing moving fortress. I don't think I ever saw that in other games. The hub areas are usually stationary, and not hungry all the time. The more you build and progress your train, the more it evolves. So feeding the train also has a greater cause than just making it move. One of your first major quests in the game is to contact the town, but you need to complete the carriage. I was a bit stuck here at first because I didn't understand it properly. This basically means that you have to build some walls and roofs in order to complete the carriage. After that's done, you'll be able to use the phone and successfully contact the guy in the town. You don't need to visit all the locations that come in your way if you don't want to. Some quests will require you to visit specific locations, so you have to keep your eyes open when they pop out here. I was stopping at pretty much all stops, just to see what I can explore and loot. I believe the full game will have a much greater variety of locations to explore. Playing RailGods of Hysterra is like having a huge pet train that you have to feed all the time and build a huge base on top of it, while taking various stops along the way to explore, kill things and collect stuff. I hope these little tips will make your experience with RailGods a bit smoother, at least in the beginning. I would say it's not a very hard game to get into, even though some of the mechanics can seem a bit too punishing at first. I had a lot of fun in the single player mode, and I believe the co-op feature is even better. If you like what you see and you want to check out this game on Steam, please use my link in the video description or in the pinned comment down below. By using that link, you will show the developers that you came straight from this video and you'll support my channel, of course. Huge thanks to Vortex for reaching out to the channel and sponsoring the video.
Lead the resistance against the great old ones, become their equal, and banish them once and for all.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to go a step further, consider supporting your boy by becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon. Huge thanks to all my current supporters, and I'll see ya in the next one.